Guys, Ronin man here. Hey, saw some outrageous stuff in the news today. I thought I'd just do a quick one on this. I mean, look at this here. Okay, this is the Mail Online, major newspaper in the UK. But the story's about Australia. Political correctness gone mad. Push to change Father's Day to Special Persons Day so children without dads aren't offended. So basically, the fathers have been slowly but surely taken out of children's lives, and you're seeing that all around the world. You know, women are taking the kids that the men thought they had. They thought it was their kid, but they're finding out that it's not their kid. Now, there's other issues, like sometimes, like physically, it's not their kid, like DNA is not theirs, and that is not being prosecuted. But the ability to take the kid away and get paid is still going strong. So here's like one more step in the direction that feminism is headed. And I think it's important to say feminism is headed this way, because this is just one more step of a standard feminist move here. So let's just look at it here. And I think everybody listening to this, if you consider yourself a feminist, I know there's a few women listening. If you consider yourself a feminist, you got to really look at this stuff and start to really think about how you feel about this stuff. Because this is totally outrageous. This is so crazy. It's almost I almost have a difficult time with it, but let's just talk about it. Okay, so basically they want to take, there's some lady with a fake name, wants to call it Special Persons Day, and some guy, what is he, the liberal minister, David Elliott, said this is crap and rubbish, right? So that's kind of like, I don't think that this woman here is trying to get this through on the first go. This is like this is kind of a warning for the future. Is that already Father's Day is kind of erased in my mind, because I have a difficult time remembering when Father's Day is actually, because I'm over here in Bangkok and nobody advertises for it. You know, like for Mother's Day, you see in the subway, you see in the supermarkets, you see in the department stores and hotels, you see Mother's Day stuff popping up all over the place. Even though it's not technically a Thai holiday, but you'd still see it advertised as I go around town, or I'll see a billboard. But when it comes to Father's Day, I never hear anything. There's nothing. There's nothing. Father's Day doesn't exist here, but in the expat community. But it does. Mother's Day does exist, right? So I forget when it is one thing, but so they're trying to erase it anyway. And I've never felt like, I don't know how you feel about this, I've never felt that Father's Day really has any connection or any kind of similarity to Mother's Day. I've never felt that both of them are on the same level. It's almost like Father's Day is kind of like this, it's like a trinket you get from a trip. You know, someone brings you this dumb souvenir, right? Someone else gets like a house or something, and you get like a t-shirt or something. That's what I feel like Father's Day is like. That's like a t-shirt. It's never taken as seriously. If you look at all the ads, if you look at the TV shows, you look at the movies, Father's Day is like no big deal. Mother's Day, whoa, you know, we're talking sacred of sacred here. And this is not to bag on mothers at all. This is like, fathers are just as valuable as mothers. And there's just no question about that in the kid's life, in his mental health, in every single aspect. But you see a direct attack now on getting fathers completely erased out of children's lives. And this is the next step here, is to get rid of Father's Day, call it something else. And it's not getting rid of. That's the other thing. Is there's one thing like deleting a holiday, right? You know, what this woman here in the picture, what she's trying to do is transfer the good feelings of a father to anybody she wants. So if it's, obviously she talks about gay, LGBT, and this and that, and then there's going to be do you understand what I'm saying? Like, so in other words, if she was saying, hey, get rid of Father's Day, so that day is no longer anything, right? But we're going to create a new day for, gay people, whatever. It's going to be called this or we call that. And this is going to be like to represent somebody important in the kid's life, right? This would never fly, and she knows it. So what she's trying to do is take the meaningful holiday that is 50% of the kid's life, DNA, creation, everything, and delete that and transfer all that goodness to somebody else. And she wants to have choice in who that is, basically, is what I'm reading into this. So let's go down here. She doesn't want to, the idea is she doesn't want to offend children without fathers. Now, I've personally never heard of fathers being offended. Kids being offended without fathers. I've never heard of that. But apparently she thinks it's a big deal. And so Special Persons Day is on her radar. There's a lot of Australian research. We kind of lead the way is what she's saying, right? And here we go. She's demonstrated that children's capacity to be inclusive once they know and think about these ideas. Wow, why are people making this a controversy? So she's saying basically it's no big deal. Like taking Father's Day, turning it into like Special Persons Day is like no big deal. It's like, why is anybody upset? Like this is like nothing. This is literally nothing. Like, this can be anybody, it could be anything. Now, she didn't say, let's get rid of Mother's Day. That's another key thing that obviously is not included in this article. Is like, she's not saying like, let's get rid of Mother and Father's Day because some people don't have a mother because the mother passed away. No, no. Because also she knows that most kids have a mother, because most kids that don't have a father is because they were ripped away by the legal system. So the father's still alive and he wants to be in the kid's life, but he's not allowed to be, right? Often, we went into the Divorce Corp episode, which really got into that one. But here we go. So she's basically saying like kids should be social justice warriors and they should be educated on this stuff. And even the Today Show, which there's not is pretty like out there, but the Australian Today Show. But she said. She asked why kids need to be social justice warriors. Like, why do they need to be trained? But she's, basically blew that off and says, we have single parent families, satellite families, extended families, lesbian and gay families, blah, blah, blah. And there's the woman who is pushing this. She calls herself Dr. Red Ruby Scarlet, which doesn't really match her at all. But either way, that's her name, apparently. And let's see. So they're going to delete men. This guy here is going to fight against it. Now, at this point in history, this is still a joke. But I think if you look back, let's say 100 years to what happened to society now, and you look at the changes, they start out as impossible. It's like, no way. It's never going to happen. There's no way there's going to be people getting divorced at like 80%. In 10 years of marriage, is 80% chance of being divorced. That's never going to happen. Don't worry about it. It's like there'll be a goal that a group will have. And as they start to, work on it, they bring the idea up. And this is the kind of thing that you see very common with any special interest group is they'll bring the idea up and they'll be shut down. They don't mind in the beginning because they know they're going for the long ball. They're going to get the thing through eventually, but it might take 40, 50 years to get that done. So don't write this stuff off as a joke. And I think the article here is not historically taking into account the fact that many crazy ideas that we thought were crazy are now law. So I would never laugh at this stuff. Never. Even the smug look on his face, it's crap and this and that. I would never. I think it's a very serious thing. We got to take it totally serious from the beginning and destroy this idea, because this is a crazy, crazy idea that kids don't need a father. They don't need Father's Day. They don't need any of this stuff. But here we go. It's another day in the life of feminism. So let's see what else is in the news today. So here we have, this is, I'm in Thailand, so this is Coconuts Bangkok. It's a magazine around here everybody reads. Mom films herself threatening to hang baby because husband didn't pick up phone. Okay. This is August 18th, so there's the baby. It's got the rope around his neck. Can you see that? And there he is. He's an infant, can't walk, he's crawling around. He's got a rope around his neck. And the woman, you can see on the left how nice she is. But here she is, 28-year-old woman, Bangkok woman, filmed herself threatening to hang her 1-year-old son last Friday after her husband didn't pick up her calls and refused to take home from work and run out the errands that she had planned. Right. So here's what she said. The video's online. You can see it. You see, Joe, you care about people a lot. This is your kid, and this is a rope here. She then tugged the rope and threw the poor boy, onto the mattress as he screamed. Look at him. He's not dead. I'm not making him dead yet. I'll take him somewhere to kill him if you don't come back for him today. I'm stressed out. You don't answer my calls. Now, this guy was at work or something. He didn't take off from home. It was like no big deal. But she says, I'll take him somewhere and kill him if you don't come back for him today. Okay, so this is basically total insanity, mental illness. But the problem with this kind of mental illness is very common. But usually these things don't get on videotape. So there's a lot of guys listening to this podcast. There's a lot of guys in real life who've had women say crazy things like this to them verbally, and it wasn't on the record. So it's like it just disappears into the vaporware. And when if this guy, I can guarantee you this, if this husband came to the police and said, my wife put a noose around the baby's neck, said she's going to kill him if I don't do this, if I don't do that, the police wouldn't do anything, because they'd be like, you're crazy. Like, why would she do that? She's a mother, right? There's no way she would do that, But here, luckily this one, she recorded it. So she's a real genius, this one. Here was her excuse. The reason why is I called my husband 40 to 50 times and he didn't pick up the phone. Now, I don't know about you, but if anyone calls me 40 to 50 times in a day, I'm not going to pick up the phone either, right? Here's what she says next. You're not me. You don't know how stressed out I am. He didn't pick up the phone. He didn't talk to me. So this is like her defense, okay? She broke down in tears. But if you look at that picture, I don't see her crying. I don't see a lot of tears there. I see a very dry eyes there and dry face. And you don't see a lot of belief. Although the guy on the left, you can tell he's a little bit not sure what to do, right? If this was a man, it would be very clear what he should do. Put him in prison. But because it's a woman, he's kind of like, what do I do with this? The guy on the right is like, this bitch needs death, but he can't do anything about it, right? So I really warn you against like thinking crazy thoughts like, oh yeah, he's going to kill her. Or, like if she does this, this doesn't happen in real life. What we're looking at here is real life. This is real life. A woman, a mother, put a noose around her neck, recorded that she's going to kill her son, saying it many different ways, and sent it to her husband. And let's see what happened. Okay, so this is just like a couple days ago. So let's see here. Her husband had been ignoring her, and she feared he was seeing another woman. In addition, her online clothing shop had not been doing well. So she wasn't making the usual money that she was making. So she probably wanted more money. She broke down in tears. And again, there was no tears that I saw. And said she didn't intend to hurt the baby. I was hurting. I wasn't thinking. At first, I even thought about killing myself, honestly. Okay, you could believe her. Don't worry. My husband didn't care about his kid and wife at all. My husband didn't care about his kid and wife at all because he didn't pick up the phone, right? I only did this to upset him. I didn't live stream the video. I just sent it to him. I mean, this is just total madness. Like, her defense here is just insane, right? Then I fell asleep and woke up to see the video on Facebook. I was shocked that it became a big deal. Yeah. Responding to reporters' questions, she defended her actions, saying she was still holding the baby while pulling the rope. Don't worry, guys. No one's ever dropped a baby when they're got him in one hand and they got a rope around the neck. It's not possible, right? There's no way an accident could happen here, I know that the video seems depressing, but my son always screams. Okay, and here's more of her defense here. I know the video seems depressing, but my son always screams like this when he doesn't get what he wants. So she's screaming because she didn't get what she wants, and the kid screams when he doesn't get what he wants. Now, the kid can't even walk, so of course kids cry when they don't get what they want. They want to eat. They want to sleep, right? They want to see this. They want some candy, whatever. They want the bottle. They want something, right? And she's blaming it on him. But didn't she think she might actually kill the baby? She admitted, Yes, I thought about it. Okay, that's a wonderful wife here. We're talking about a real gem, a real sweetheart. But if he died, I would have died with him. I didn't want to live anymore. So keep in mind, the reason why she did this is because she called her husband when he was at work and he didn't answer the phone. So this is the reason why she did all this stuff, right? Okay, so after an interrogation, 2 hour, the police dismissed the incident as a family disagreement. The police dismissed the incident as a family disagreement. So this is what you get. It's not a criminal case like it would be if it was a man. So, I mean, there's two things here. I think a lot of MGTOWs will tend to look at what she's doing and say she's a nut, she's crazy, women are crazy. I don't think that's the point. I really don't think that's the point. Men and women can both be crazy. Obviously, there's murders on both sides. People can go insane and do all kinds of things. I think the key thing here is society's reaction. And society's reaction is like, a woman put a rope, a noose around a baby's neck, threatened to kill it several times on video. She was having a bad day, right? Bad day. What are you going to do, right? So as here's what the social worker said, as Nara Moan, whatever her name is, did not intend to hurt the baby, she gets to keep her 1-year-old son. So that's what happens here. Guys, can you imagine like a guy does this and what he is going to, is he going to be able to keep the baby? The guy can't even get the baby if he's a good husband. The women get the babies. But here, I don't know what's next. Like if she beheads the baby, I guess. If she beheads the baby, he won't be alive. But maybe if she just like beheads him like halfway or something and misses the jugular and they sew him up again, she might lose custody, I guess. But it depends because it could have been an accident, right? She might have him on video with a knife to his throat and then accidentally slip and then cut his neck half and then bring him to the hospital. And then he might somehow live with scars. And then, he would be, that would be an accident, right? That would be an accident. Could happen to anybody, right? It could happen to anybody, right? You can't blame anybody for that, right? Okay, so here's another one. Let's look at Singapore here. So Singapore, I remember the days when women, there really was, there still are good people in the world. There's no question about it. But I remember when like relationships, like when there was like an article about love in the paper, it made sense. Like it was like, yeah, like whatever the reason the story was, it was kind of a heartfelt story. But today things have changed. Like in the way that society lets women get away with stuff has really changed. We see it with women trying to strangle their babies, getting away with it. We just saw here, see all kinds of things. Just daily news. I'm not even looking for anything special here. I was reading the Drudge Report and I came up with these articles. So don't get the idea that this was like some kind of crazy search for crazy women. This was basically reading the Drudge Report, waking up in the morning, looking at the news, and here's what I found. So okay, here we go. Singapore lady turns to prostitution to clear debt, ends up getting married with client. Okay, so let's look at it here. She walks into a cyber cafe, blah, 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 and she offered sex. She's 29 years old and for $200. And that's what she did to survive in 2004. She was jobless. I just want to read this a little bit because I think it's important. I really think it's important because this article is quite sympathetic. It's written as if it's a love story. This wonderful woman, she had hard times, but, she overcame them, right? And she's also very, very brave. All the comments below is like, she's so brave. She's so brave. So let's see what is her real story here, right? So she was homeless, jobless, and had $500,000 in Singapore dollars in debt. So it's not that much money. Okay, so she'd been conned into borrowing money for an investment that turned out to be a scam. Okay, so there's two ways to write everything in life. One is to blame the victim, and one is to just state the facts, right? So basically, let's just talk about stating the facts. She invested in a scam. Now, I think that the word con is a very, very loaded word. I know for me, if I invest in something that ends up to be a scam, it's my fault. It's my fault for not checking it out. Of course, I don't want other people to be, scamming people, but it's my responsibility to decide what I'm going to invest in. And here's the other thing. She borrowed money to put into an investment. Okay, now if you're buying a house, that's normal. You get a mortgage. But this is a weird story from the beginning, so that's why I wanted to pick this one apart, just to see how real this whole love story is. She'd been conned into borrowing money for an investment that turned out to be a scam. Okay, now look, if you want to get rich, you better save money every month, okay? Save 10% and invest it dollar cost average. So that means that every month, regardless of the prices of things, you buy more. So for example, if you're buying stocks, let's say you can afford $200 a month. You save $200 a month, and every month, no matter what the index fund is at, you buy $200 worth. And that's called dollar cost averaging. So you're not looking at the price. You're not saying, is the stock high or low? You're just saying, okay, I've got $200. Every month I'm going to buy this particular index fund. This is a great way to get wealthy, by the way, because when you think it's high, you think it's low, it's often not. And so what people tend to do is save money and then put all their money into something, and then it's very dangerous, right? It's not a very good, intelligent investment scam. But what's a lot worse than that is way worse is don't borrow, don't save money, live on the edge, borrow money, and then don't research where you're putting the money. That's what this woman did, okay? She borrowed money to go into an investment that turned out to be a scam. So that right there is very, very not something I would recommend. I was naive and emotionally unstable back then. Okay, this is when she lost the money. This is after she lost the money. Every bank was calling me for money. Why would she be in the, like this is like not her fault, right? Just life was hard back then. She went public and she published her autobiography, Love Heals, How I Turned My Life Around. Well, how did she do that? Tells the story how she was duped, cornered by debts, turned to prostitution, and met the man who'd become her savior and husband. Well, now a man comes in. It's an inspirational story to tell people there is hope and light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. Her problems begin in 2004 when her company went bankrupt with $50,000 in debt. So she borrowed money. Okay. When I start companies, I don't borrow money personally. And this is another thing. I actually start companies, so I know something about this, so I can comment. I save money and I invest that money. Okay, so she borrowed money, which is fine. A lot of people borrow money for companies. Not a bad thing, but it is a point. It is a point. There's a difference. A different kind of person actually saves money, invests that money, and borrows money and invests that money, right? Personally, I highly recommend borrowing money. I say saving money because when you save money, you care more about the money. It's your money. You know how hard you worked for it, and you're going to be more careful, and you're going to research, and you won't be so quick to invest in things because you saved the money. It was painful. It cost you, time, and you had to give things up, and you had to pass on fun things, right? This is what makes your mind in the right mindset to invest. When you borrow money and someone hands you a bunch of money, it's very risky because you don't have that same connection to the money. It's just given to you, right? It's very easy to lose the money. That's my personal take, and that's been my whole life. I don't want to borrow money for anything. I have zero debt. Okay, so she lost money. She borrowed money once. She invested in an events management company. Not the greatest company, if you ask me. Not the smartest. Events are like one of the worst, most fly-by-night kind of stuff. It's like events, man. I don't know if you know anybody who did an event company. I have a friend, a very good friend with an events company. He's going to be listening to this podcast for sure. And I already told him like it's risky because if it rains and there's just so many things that can happen with events. Either way, some people can make money with it, but again, it's not the greatest way to make money. So she did an events management company, which is somewhat risky. She borrowed money, which is more risky. She lost all the money. Okay, so then she met somebody who offered her a get-rich-quick investment scam. Well, this woman's obviously a genius, so she met this person. I don't know how she met him. She probably called him, right? That's not mentioned here. But I don't usually have people offer me get-rich-quick schemes on the subway. It's usually something that they, you know what I mean? Like in fact, I don't have anybody like with Get Rich Quick Schemes talking to me, right? So how did this happen? I'm guessing this is another situation where it's not her fault. She probably answered an ad, called the guy about a Get Rich Quick scheme, right? That's the only thing you can basically guess here. So she borrowed money from her friends and relatives to invest in this thing that she didn't research. Okay? So every loan ranged from a few $100s to $50,000. So she's already got $50,000 in debt. Now this woman is really a genius, right? Then she borrows from all her friends and relatives to invest in a scam. And the reason why is because she was down on her luck, right? Don't you do that? When you're down on your luck, don't you borrow $50,000 from your friends and then invest into a scam? Isn't that normal? Am I something wrong with that? Yeah, there's a lot wrong with that. Okay, so then the person behind the scam kept asking for more money to top up the investment, right? So she kept borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. Otherwise, she could not get back her money. That's the way scams operate. And he called her and she lost her job. Okay, now this article is trying to make it look like the guy with the scam made her lose her job. But in reality, we all are responsible for our lives. And, if I invest in, let's say I borrow money from the mafia, right? And I don't pay it back, you can bet they're going to come and, ruin my life, right? So that's what happened here is she took a chance, wasn't very smart, and it didn't pay off. And it's the second time in a row. So now she's in debt to her family, friends, mother. My brother was angry, took my house keys away. I was homeless. I was desperate and ended up doing prostitution. So she loans, I don't know how much she owed. It doesn't really say how much it was, but it's a lot. We'll see at the end. She still owes $500,000. So it was a lot because she was borrowing $50,000 per person, several people, and she had $50,000 to start with. And debts, they get bigger. There's interest, right? So here we go. Men started making indecent proposals. Yeah, she had nothing going on. She was homeless, and I realized I could make some money. So she's a genius, and she realizes, oh my God, she looks down between her legs, and she says, look what's there. There's a pussy. And guess what? Guys will pay for that. So she's like, I got it. I'm going to sell what's between my legs. See? This woman is like so awesome, right? She just follows the exact pattern here. So she was a prostitute for 8 months. She had 30 clients, 3 of which are regulars. What's her worst experience? Some guy boned her without a condom. I felt humiliated. She hated what she was doing, but continued. I hoped it was her hope to get out of debt. Didn't sound very realistic at 200 Singapore dollars each time to me. It's pretty small money when you owe 500,000. But either way, this is what, she had nothing. I respect a prostitute more than I respect a thief, because at least a prostitute is trying to earn the money back, whereas a thief is taking your money without giving you anything in return. So I would say her level here is not that intelligent, but it's not pure evil either, right? So, okay. So then I met Eric. All my clients I had wanted my body only for personal satisfaction. Now, keep in mind, she's selling her pussy for money, okay? She is a prostitute. She's putting up ads for prostitution. And the customers, she complains that they only wanted her body for personal satisfaction. I find that hard to believe. It's just like, wow, it's shocking. I don't know about you, but I'm just blown away. I was to them a tall and beautiful girl they could use as an object of carnal pleasure. So her husband was very nice. He brought food for her, took her to see a doctor. He was someone I was very comfortable with, right? Okay, so there she is with her kids. He lent her some money too. Well, that makes me more comfortable. She was very comfortable with him then. And then she called him for more money. And this time she felt obligated to offer herself in return. He gradually fell in love with her despite the fact that she was a prostitute. Eric said, I did ask myself, should I get involved with her? But I have a feeling this is life. We all have issues, right? It's just normal thing for a woman to do this, right? What are you going to do, right? It's just the way it is, right? Come on, everybody has a hard time, right? Some people, they, do what she does, right? Hey, okay, here we go. Here, everyone wants to. She didn't do it of her own will. Everybody wants to live a good life. Everybody. So basically, every prostitute he's talking about here. But she went deeper and deeper into trouble. Her parents knew that she had no choice to sell her body. It's kind of a confusing article. It goes back to the beginning, but here we go. So she tried to commit suicide by drowning herself in the sea. Now, I talked about this line in the last video. That is not committing suicide. Drowning yourself in the sea. Okay, if I was going to drown myself in the sea, let me tell you what I would do. I would stand on a dock or a boat, and I would tie my legs with a rope to a concrete block, and I would tie it 1,000,000 times around my legs, like 1,000,000 knots. There's no way, you know what I mean? No matter what I did, I couldn't take it off. And then I would chuck the concrete block over the edge, or I would jump with the concrete block off the side. Now, I'm a pretty good swimmer, so I would have to have a heavy concrete block. So I weigh close to 200 pounds. So I would want the block to have some handles on it, right? I would fashion some handles. I can deadlift 400 pounds, so I would do 400 pounds, and I would take it, and then I would drop it off the edge and jump with it, and then I would kill myself. That's drowning yourself in the sea and committing suicide. But she probably just jumped in the ocean, right? She tried to commit suicide by drowning herself in the sea. I mean, I can just imagine how pathetic it was. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you've ever seen an old Japanese porn movie from like the 1950s, but they're hilarious because in the end of the movie, the girl always walks into the ocean to kill herself. It's true story. If you watch an old Japanese porn, and not all of them, but it's a common thing. Is like she's so ashamed that she walks into the sea, and then the music comes on, and like it gets dark, and then it's like, oh, she killed herself at the end, right? So this is the kind of thing she did. This is like an old Asian thing. Walk into the sea, right? That's how she's going to kill herself, right? So she was rescued by the police. I don't know, but the police don't swim. The last I heard, the police don't swim. They have guns, they have uniforms, they sit in cars, right? They're in offices. But somehow the police saved her. So obviously she came back to the coast, some seaweed around her neck or something, she's coughing and making a big scene. And then she finally ran into a policeman somehow walking through town, and then they saved her, right? Rescued, right? She ended up in the Institute of Mental Health. So here we go. What's really funny is like she looks totally normal right here. If you met her, you would never know all these things about her. But luckily she wrote a book, and there's an article so you can read. You can find out. This is the kind of thing I'd want to know about people. Like if I was going to date somebody, I definitely would want to know this story before I took them on a date, right? But here we go. They tied the knot when Pamela was pregnant. Okay, so she had a lot of stress, but Eric wanted the child. Blah, blah, blah. He was working, she wasn't. It wasn't easy to set up this family, especially for Eric, her husband, because he was working and she wasn't. Now she has another company. Now, this is a common thing with a lot of women. I've seen this so many times, where the husband will work and then the woman will take his money and then start a business. So supposedly have a business on the side. But she has debts of $400,000 now. Now, this isn't Singapore dollars, it doesn't say. This one here is 400,000 US dollars. So they still struggle, with bread and butter issues. But she's got a book, and everybody knows she's a whore. So that's awesome. So she is really awesome person. Here we go. We're paying it off bit by bit. Yep, debt aside, they have a happy family life. After my mother read my book, she became more loving and understanding. Yeah, right? I mean, every mother would, right? She's still alive. It's good. So here we go. I realized my story had a bigger purpose to bring hope to women who were forced into the prostitution trade. This is so common nowadays. Anybody can be forced into prostitution these days. I mean, there was no forcing going on this woman. She had to answer ads. She had to put up ads on Craigslist, I'm sure, to find anybody who would want to do it with her. But she did. But apparently that's being forced. So, I mean, I don't know. I didn't hear a lot about guns. I didn't hear a lot about kidnapping. I didn't hear a lot about, being in a dungeon. All I heard was like I had a bunch of debt, and it was for a pretty stupid reason too. and then I borrowed more money to invest in a scam, and I borrowed from my family and friends. Then I lost all that, and then I started whoring myself out. That's what I read. But either way, she was forced into it, apparently, right? It's so easy. These articles, when you read them, you almost think they're real. Like this is a real story. What we really have, if you see this girl, she is a prostitute, and she's now got a guy who's working and paying off her bills and sponsoring her business. And she might have he's the simp, right? But she might have other simps who buy her book and start sending her money. I'm guessing other men will be very touched by this awesome story of this, really, woman who's very, what do you call it? She's very awesome, and, she really goes for it here. She is brave. Let's see here. She is indeed a brave woman who is blessed too. We need a second chance. Eric seems like a good man. Sharon, yeah. And a good husband. I wish the best. Hope she can pay off her debts. I greatly admire her courage. Awesome. All the best for a renewed spirit. Yeah. Let's see here. Very brave. Yeah. Very brave. You have my respect, Eric and Pamela. All the best, guys. Kudos to the man who love and protect her. He even give her a family. I am thankful for her stories shared. Yeah, respect is the first thing that comes to my mind after reading her story. My best wishes to Pamela and Eric. That's not actually the first thing that comes to my mind. But see, this is the thing. This is the level that now we are expecting of women. I mean, this is how far it is. It's gone all the way down here. I mean, read the story. I'll put it in the comments below. It's just amazing. It's amazing. And the last thing I'll end on here, the secret of your success is who you marry, right? So we're talking about her, the first lady, former first lady, Obama. And that's pretty obvious when you marry the president, some guy who becomes a president, you make some money. But this is another article. I just wanted to add this one on the end because there's no facts in this article. It's a completely fact-free. It's like a fat-free sweet. They've taken all the fat out. So there's no facts in here. There's no statistics. It's just like if you marry the right person, if you're lucky enough to marry the right person, it's going to help your career. That's basically the secret of your success. Now, actually, what really the article is talking about is if a woman marries a guy who gets rich, okay, like we have here the Zuckerbergs, if a woman marries a guy who gets rich, she becomes very successful. So this is something we already knew. It's a common thing, but it's just always kind of like, it's always in here. All the examples here, Beyonce is married to Jay-Z. Jay-Z made her what she is. And you just kind of see like, it's just kind of this thing, and it's kind of like magic. I think that the whole Disney princess magic thing is the ability, it's kind of like the ability to make a guy come and get him to do stuff for you, right? I think that's what it really boils down to. And you can see it is kind of magic because, I mean, look at Beyonce and then look at Jay-Z. You can see where he took her. And look at Priscilla Chan and Mark Zuckerberg. You can see where he took her. And look at her there. You can also see Miss Obama there. And back to the article of this woman here, you can see that even she was, who she married influenced her success. So if you're a woman, I highly recommend finding a guy who's either successful now or going to be successful. These stories are all about guys who are successful in the future, which is kind of like the fairy tale because then you have plausible deniability. Like I married the guy and he was a college student, but then he started Facebook, right? You know what I mean? This is the best story because then it's completely fault free. It's no fault. So you can never say, oh, she was a gold digger. And believe me, people do say this if a woman marries a rich guy, but the best way to do it is to marry the guy, to be smart enough to realize the guy is going to be rich in the future, and then marry the guy. Then you're in, and you can't be blamed, and you can be rich, and you can divorce the guy and take all his money, and it's no fault, so you can do whatever you want. You have total freedom, And this is the world we live in, and this is why there's so many more MGTOWs these days, because the insanity just never ends. So thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all your comments. And I was going to do a short video, but turned out to be a lot of content here. So sometimes my videos are long, sometimes I do a few short ones. I appreciate the advice though, and if you do have an idea on a specific type of video you'd like me to make or a topic, please put it in the comments below, and I read every single comment. I reply to most of them, and I really appreciate it, and it really makes my day too. So thanks, guys, and Ronin Man signing off.